It's been a long old day here at Oulton Park, but the final race is upon us, and we've saved one of the best till last. This is the Protyre Ginetta GT5 Challenge. It's been a long day for us. It's been an even longer weekend for these drivers because their first race was on Saturday afternoon. They had another race this morning, and this their third and final encounter. We've had two different winners as well from the first two races. Can we make it a hat-trick? I think there's a good chance of that. It is pole position for the final race for Adam Smalley with Jerry Nicosia alongside Scott McKenna and Conor Grady are next, ahead of Gordy Much and Katie Milner. Row 4 for Josh Hislop and David Ellerslie. Row 5, Will Durdle and Sammy Saralainen, who was entertaining to watch in the first race. Then it's Gus Bowers and Nick Halstead, with Abby Pulling and Wesley Pearce making up row number 7. Then we have got Matt Maxted, another one to watch for, I think, moving forward, with James Townsend alongside him on the 8th row of the grid. Charlie Budd and Dale Albert are on row 9, with Lewis Ryder and Matt Conxus on the 10th row. Ryan Firth and Bal Sidhu, who had a spin in the first race, he's on row 11. Row 12, Daniel Budd, who also had a rotation, he's got Danny Harrison for company on row number 12. Row 13 for Jaji Verdi and Josh Malin, another quick driver who should move forward. Then Jesse Chamberlain, Simon Kira, Ruben Del Sart, and Tom Golding at the back. Tom Golding had a mechanical issue when he was running in the lead pack in race 1. That lead pack comprised of about 7 or 8 cars at least for most of the race. This race should be very similar. I think they start this in the order in which they finished the previous one. So race 2 winner Adam Smalley is on pole with Jerry Nicosia, Scott McKenna and Conor Grady right behind him. The first race was won by Gordy Much, who was only 5th in race 2. So as far as championship points are concerned, we'll be keen to try and get back on the podium with this one. Ruben Del Sart had a podium in the first race, and Jerry Nicosia, the only man to have doubled up on podiums so far, had a 3rd in race 1, a 2nd in race 2. So I guess that order would dictate that he wins this one, and then he's got a full set. That does happen quite often, but he'll have to beat the very rapid former Ginetta Junior racer, as indeed was Jerry, but Adam Smalley, who raced with him in Ginetta Juniors, alongside him on the front row. Lights out, away we go. 15 minutes of racing underway for the final time today, and Jerry Nicosia makes a storming start from the outside of row 1 and leads down to turn 1. Adam Smalley is squeezing across there, trying to keep Scott McKenna at bay, but actually Smalley is down to 3rd because Conor Grady has come through into 2nd position. Not a good start for the race 2 winner. A brilliant start, though, for Jerry Nicosia, who leads the pack down towards Cascade, tangle further back into the barriers. 2 cars into the barriers, in fact, and we'll try and pick out the numbers on those two in a moment or two. Didn't quite see in the low, late afternoon sun. I fear we may see those dreaded 2 letters appear at the top of our screen again in a moment, but we'll wait and see. The leaders are down at Island Bend for the first time. It's only a 15-minute race this as well, so if the safety car does come out, it will really eat into our race time. Top 4 making a break here, though. Smalley, Smalley, we'll get this right in a minute. Nicosia, then Grady, then Smalley, and then Scott McKenna. They're nothing like green order anymore, of course, are they? Because Nicosia, from the outside of row 1, really dumped the clutch perfectly. Is that Katie Milner into 5th? I think it might be, you know. She was 6th at the end of sector 1. I think she's into the top 5 now. Number 19 is out on the grass a bit further back. That was Tom Golding, who's trying to work his way through from the tail end of the field as well. But it is Katie Milner in 5th, although not for long, because on the inside of her goes David Ellerslie. He overshoots a little bit. Katie will try and fight back if she can. Is she going to be able to? No, not quite. And in fact, the 23 car of Josh Hislop is right behind her. But Katie Milner, who finished 6th in race 2, that was quite a big improvement, actually. A big improvement indeed over a non-finish from the previous race, so her weekend getting better and better. She's back down to 6th now, but still a strong showing on that opening lap. No sign yet of the dreaded safety car, thank goodness, so we're good to go racing for the time being with Nicosia, Grady, Smalley and McKenna, your leading quartet of cars. Look at the gap they've got over the squabbling group further back. So out of Lodge Corner, over the curb, but not too wide over the curb, through the final turn, and then back along the start-finish straight. I use the term straight loosely. As you can see, it does curve quite significantly over to the left-hand side before you hit the brakes and plunge into the dip at Old Hall Corner. Adam Smalley there in 3rd position, doing his best to try and regroup here after that slightly sluggish start. Tom Golding further back into 16th place, gained 13 spots on the opening lap. That is some really, really impressive stuff. There are quite a few cars who have not yet come through at the end of the opening lap. I think that maybe number 49, Abby Pulling, is one driver who's gone off, and so too, I fear, James Townsend, number 11. I think, no, Townsend has come through, but Pulling has not yet. So Abby Pulling definitely the driver we saw off in the barriers. So, leaders at Shell Hairpin. 4 for the lead still, no need for a safety car. Good news all round, because we've got a titanic battle being fought out here at the head of the field. The gap back from 4th to 5th was 1.8 seconds, with Ellerslie 5th and Milner 6th, then Hislop, Saralainen, Halstead and Durdle rounding out the top 10. You can see that on the graphic down the left-hand side of your screen, plus the gaps between each car and the leader, that is. So the leader is actually getting away here slightly because Adam Smalley is dicing away with Conor Grady. He's up the inside of his lot. That was a nice move. You don't actually see as many moves up the inside there as you might think you would. It tends to be fairly easy to defend, but actually Conor Grady opened the door nicely and Adam Smalley said thank you very much and takes over second place. So though David Elsley in fifth is going after them now, with Katie Miller fairly secure in sixth ahead of Josh Hislop for the time being. Druids, they're about to come past the water tower. That's officially still, I think, the name of the left-hand kink there before Druids Water Tower. And then underneath the Paul Warwick Bridge, the main entrance bridge to the circuit, and underbraking for Lodge Corner, where the move is made by Scott McKenna for third place. So Conor Grady, who we saw sort of faded towards the end of race number 2, we suspected maybe tyres were starting to overheat. They will have to watch the tyres even this late in the afternoon, with track temperatures still well into the 30s, I'd imagine. And Conor Grady, even earlier in this race, unfortunately losing ground. Adam Smalley is not, though. The former Ginetta Junior star in second place has just set the fastest lap of the race, and he's right on the tail now. Jerry Nicosia, who's dabbing the brakes there. We saw down into Cascades. He's not trying to brake check Smalley. He clearly ran over the curbs through Old Hall Corner, and that's a racing driver's trick to just double check that he's not got any padlock off. I say this, I actually don't think it's a brake light. I think in his excitement, he's flicked the indicator on. That's not the signal he's moving out of the way for Adam Smalley. That's the last thing on his mind. Clearly just with the bit of arm twiddling he's done at some point in the early stages on the steering wheel. Jerry, former Fiesta Junior champion, and then Ginetta Junior racer, has flicked that driver's side indicator on, much to the frustration of Adam Smalley. I'm sure that's one unnecessary distraction he's got to deal with now. Which chicane they go, hopping over the curve, through the left, through the right. There used to be tyre stacks on the apexes of those corners, which thankfully have now been replaced by plastic marker posts, which aren't quite as effective a method of stopping corner cutting, but they do save a little bit of mess being caused when cars do find themselves taking a long line through the chicane. The same goes, well, actually not through the middle part of his lot, there's still a tyre stack there to deter them from cutting the corner too much. Scott McKenna is taking advantage of this fight for the race lead now. He's latched onto their tail. Conor Grady not yet able to go with them, and could, within the next lap or so, have to face some pressure from David Elsley, who is the fastest of anybody in the second sector of the lap. Jerry Nicosia is not setting the world alight here with lap times, though, because he is having to defend busily now from the yellow and black Adam Smalley car and the blue, white and yellow of Scott McKenna, who's starting to sort of buy back into all of this. There's a car pulled off at the exit of the road at Druids, which may be Abby pulling. I think he's recovered from the initial off and maybe pulled off further around the lap, leading 4-ish, but certainly a leading 3 battle. Heads across the start-finish line again, though, at the end of the third lap of the race. Jerry Nicosia defends the inside line at Old Hall Corner. Is there going to be a late lunge here from Smalley? No, there isn't. And he's got to be mindful of the fact that if he goes for a move and it doesn't work, so Scott McKenna will straight away be looking to try and take advantage. And Conor Grady not a million miles behind either now, using the not insubstantial slipstream that these cars produce to reel the top 3 back in again. So we now definitely do have a 4-car lead squabble. Out of Cascades again, Smalley looks to have the better exit. Can he draw up the inside of Jerry Nicosia? I don't think he can. David Ellerslie on the previous lap set a new fastest lap, 1:55.708. That was 0.8 of a second quicker than Conor Grady directly in front of him, and about 0.8 actually quicker than the race leader as well. The top 4 all running pretty much the same pace on the previous lap. That is Wesley Pearce, who's gone off at Cascades and has dislodged the front bodywork. I don't think he's made contact with the barriers though, and hopefully that should be deemed a safe enough position to leave that car for the duration of the race. There's David Elsley, another former Fiesta front runner in the senior Ford Fiesta Championship, and more trouble, I'm afraid. Matt Maxted is off. Was that one of the cars from the opening lap? Because he's joined them there by, that is the Abbey pulling car, number 49. We know Abbey's been there since the first lap, so Maxted off as well. That means the car at Druids is somebody else, but I can only see page 1 of my time at the moment, so we'll try and figure that one out a bit later, because right now we've got more important things to focus on, such as a 5-car fight for the race lead, because David Elsley is almost with them now, and another couple of corners of defensive driving from Jerry Nicosia ought to slow the leading 4 up sufficiently that Elsley will be right with them before the end of the lap. In fact, I was going to say by the end of the lap, but he's there as they come out of Druids. So 5 cars, you could throw a handkerchief over the lot of them, and Conor Grady thought about going up the inside of McKenna there, couldn't do it though. A few of them just starting to snatch brakes as they trail brake into the corners, wanting to brake as late as possible and carry some of that speed into the turn. Of course, it stops the driver behind being able to dive bomb you. Now, David Elsley really is in the catbird seat here because he's at the back of this group, yes, so he's got the most ground to gain, but he doesn't have to worry about defending. What he does have to worry about, if he keeps doing that, is exceeding the track limits there. There are pressure pad sensors on the outside of Old Hall Corner that if you run over them, i.e. if you're exceeding the track limits, using bits of grass that you shouldn't be, it triggers a camera, it takes a picture of your car exceeding the track limits, and that way when you try and argue the case with the clerk of the course afterwards, there is photographic proof that yes, you did exceed track limits, and yes, we can give you a time penalty. So the fifth place man David Elsley needs to be a little bit careful with that. Although a few of them have been getting a bit ragged over the last few laps and running a bit wide. Leading 3 now starting to make a small break because Conor Grady, having a few quarters ago been looking like he was attacking for third, is now having to try and fend off David Elsley, and you can see the momentum it costs you. He's only been defending for a couple of corners, and that's a good 3 or 4 car lengths. He drops the cars in front of him. Then it's Katie Milner still doing well in 6th. Sami Saralainen is 7th. He's now ahead of Josh Hislop. That's been a change on the previous lap. Saralainen continuing to move his way up the order, and Tom Golding into 10th place has just set the fastest lap of the race. Scott McKenna at the inside of Adam Smalley. Oh, contact! Nicosia goes around Smalley on the grass, and Nicosia is going to rejoin the track, potentially out of control. Somehow Adam Smalley retains the race lead, but that was Scott McKenna going up the inside of Smalley for second and inadvertently tagging the race leader Jerry Nicosia. They've all rejoined, but not in the same order they were in before. We'll have to try and figure out exactly what's gone on in a moment or two. It's going to be Smalley from McKenna, from Grady, from Elsley, I think the top 4, and Katie Milner now back into the top 5. Nicosia's already gone through, I think it's about 8th place-ish. Again, we'll get confirmation in a moment. Yes, in fact, I can see in the background he is the 8th car in the queue, but Scott McKenna will not be a popular man after that one. Adam Smalley did a really good job to hang on to the race lead, and now David Elsley goes around the outside of Conor Grady for third. Conor shows him the edge of the road though. I don't think contact was made, but to avoid side-to-side contact, Elsley has to run on the grass and therefore loses traction and speed up the hill. So deep breath everybody, still 5 minutes to go, still only 2/3 of the way through the race. Here's the replay. McKenna goes for it, there's a gap, but because Nicosia is so early on the brakes trying to defend, McKenna arrives at the corner before Nicosia has left it, and so has contact made. And I think Adam Smalley, not only did he manage to hold on to the race lead there, but actually may not have sustained any serious damage. It was a small bit of contact, which will hopefully not have been significant enough to damage the car. Scott McKenna is still there in 2nd place then, but there will now be this dark cloud hanging over this result. Wherever he ends up, I'm sure he'll have a discussion with the clerk of the course later, because whilst that clearly wasn't intentional, it has resulted, unfortunately, in quite a loss of ground for our erstwhile race leader. Screech of tyres further back, but I think everybody is still there. I was about to say McKenna might now have to drive with a little bit more caution in mind, but he was straight into the back of Adam Smalley's car with the Shell hairpin. Car number 12 that was, Janji Verdi, who's pulled off on the run towards Britain chicane. Please don't throw a safety car there, because this is turning into one of the races of the day. I bet the spectators who stayed to the end of the day are glad they did so now, because we've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 of them nose to tail for the race lead, and Katie Milner goes at the inside of Elsley there, trying to take 4th place away from the former Fiesta front runner, who was starting to make his moves just as it all kicked off in front of him, which has rather lost in momentum, I think. McKenna using the toe now to attack Adam Smalley up the hill through the left-hand kink at the water tower, the double apex right-hander at Druids. That bodywork rubbing on the ground slightly. I think it will be hampering McKenna's aerodynamic efficiency ever so slightly, but he's got the slipstream to use as a backup if needs be. Elsley defending from Milner behind, and that's back Milner into the rapid Sami Saralainen, who they make contact, in fact, and the white car of Saralainen. Oh, will he lose it? No, well held, but loses momentum, and so Jerry Nicosia might be about to pick up another place, tries to get to the inside of Saralainen. He will do so as they come across the start-finish line. So Sami Saralainen nearly gained a position, ends up losing at least one and maybe more, because Gordy Much is the next car in line, but he can't go on the inside. So Saralainen back down to where he was, basically in 8th position. Gordy Much 9th, and Tom Golding, I think I was about to make the point before it all kicked off, and just set the fastest lap of the race, but he's now 7th, is Tom Golding. So he's managed to get his way past all of that group on the previous lap, and could yet be on for a top 5 finish, because Tom Golding, who I think is the white and orange car just coming through shot and Cascades a moment or two ago, has still got another 2 laps, I reckon, in this race to try and reel in this leading quintet of cars. Still being led by Adam Smalley, though, is that group, and indeed, therefore, the race, with Scott McKenna 2nd, Grady 3rd, 4th for Elsley, Katie Milner 5th, but not content with the top 5. She's had them before. She wants to try and get as far up the order as she can. It's been a slightly lacklustre weekend, actually, by Katie's standards, with that non-finish yesterday. She got decent points in race 2. top 5, a top 4, maybe even a top 3 would go down very nicely. And again, she's had a good exit from Britain, so keep an eye on the red, blue and white car at the back of this leading group of 5, trying to make a move on David Elsley, who sort of defends, then leaves a bit of a gap. Milner almost committed that time, but Elsley is just late enough on the brakes. That's what I was trying to allude to earlier on. It's hard to make that dive at the inside at his locks because you're narrowing your line into the corner so significantly. Sometimes you can't get the car stopped. David Elsley not helping his cause there by running wide out of Knickerbrook corner, losing traction up the hill. It's a backmarking car of Simon Carer to be dealt with momentarily for the leading, well, 2 now actually, because Smalley and McKenna have rather pulled away from the rest of the pack. Jerry Nicosia, rather confusingly, is still being shown as the race leader. I assure you he's not, because he's down in 6th place at the line. On the inside of the back marker goes the race leader, Adam Smalley. McKenna does likewise, so Simon Carer doing very well to stay out of the way. I'm sure he'll dutifully move aside for the next pack of cars as well. Brady, Elsley and Nicosia, so Milner's lost ground. Nicosia's into 5th place now, and I think Tom Golding's gone with him. Let's see what the order is across the line. Yes, Tom Golding into 6th position now. He's right in behind Conor Grady. So Tom Golding is actually the white and blue car, I think, isn't he? Number 19. Katie Milner therefore down to 7th position, with Gordon Much, Josh Hislop and Gus Bowers right behind her. So things starting to unravel now slightly. That's how quickly your fortunes can change in this championship. Elsley and Nicosia super late on the brakes, too late really into Cascades, and this could be Golding's opportunity because they're side by side in front of him. They're delaying each other. Behind Gordon Much is at the inside of Katie Milner as well. This is phenomenal racing. Disappointingly, we're on the final lap of the race, but it's one of those races you want to go and go and go. And then, oh, sideways, this is going to be big. David Elsley's lost it into the tyres, and that was not the way that we wanted to see David Elsley's race end. Now, actually, he avoided the tyres and hit those Recticel barriers, which means that he's not done any damage to the car, really. But with barriers in the middle of the road, that's the final lap anyway, so you might as well let them race, I suppose. And race they will, over the hill topic up for the final time. And Adam Smalley has actually made a small break now ahead of Scott McKenna in 2nd, Conor Grady 3rd, and somehow out of all of it, Jerry Nicosia is into 4th place. What I didn't quite catch was what that did to the group of cars from 5th on back, because I'm pretty sure there'll have been some changing of position as people were trying to avoid the out of control David Elsley. Real shame for David though, because it's been a really, really good race and a good showing for him so far. Lots of nice overtaking manoeuvres made, and it all comes to nothing. Unfortunately, it won't necessarily be a non-finish, but he won't score anywhere near the points that he was anticipating. He probably won't score any points because he's got to be inside the top 20 to score. He's likely to fall outside of that top 20 now. Down to Lodge Corner we go though. Adam Smalley and Scott McKenna have put on quite the show. There may be discussions post-race about the move McKenna made that unfortunately put Nicosia out of the lead, but Adam Smalley was the beneficiary, ironically, because he was the one about to lose a position in all of that, and actually he comes out with the race lead and the race victory in round number 3 of the Protyre Ginetta GT5 Challenge. Scott McKenna is 2nd place, Conor Grady 3rd, then Nicosia, and Gordy Much goes up into 5th place from I think 8th at the start of the lap. Katie Milner survives in 6th, Gus Bowers 7th, Josh Hislop 8th, Ruben Del Sartre, the Ginetta Junior graduate, is 9th, and Tom Golding lost out on all of that. I think I'd literally just said he might gain out of the side-by-side action in front of him. The exact opposite happens. I have no idea what that was in the middle of the road at Deersley. All I can say is thank goodness this is the final race of the day. A, because I don't think I can cope with any more racing, and B, because there's an awful lot of recovery work to be done for the marshals, who unfortunately are going to be staying well beyond the end of the day's racing to clear up the mess left by the Ginetta GT5 Challenge drivers. But my, oh my, that was a good race, and Adam Smalley becomes the first double winner of the season because he won this morning's first race by 9.8 seconds. He didn't win that one by 9.8 seconds, he won it by 0.48 seconds. And in fact, Scott McKenna, despite the fact it looked like he dropped back initially on that final lap, he actually set the fastest lap of the race on the final lap, 154.378, which is almost as quick as they were going in yesterday's first race, which was the fastest race lap of the weekend, set by Gordy Much, 154.2. Within a tenth or so of that was Scott McKenna. So good pace despite the damage, but I wonder whether or not we'll see some positions altered. Nicosia recovered to 4th after the contact that we had down at Britain's. Sorry, it's Hislops, excuse me, this chicane they're going through now. But Adam Smalley, nice to hear he's getting a nice response there from the crowd. who I think probably enjoyed themselves in that 15-minute encounter. I know I did. There was an awful lot to enjoy. Victory then for Smalley, McKenna second, Grady third and Nicosia fourth, with Gordy Much getting into fifth ahead of Katie Milner on the last lap. Gus Bowers seventh, then Josh Hislop, Ruben Delsart and Tom Golding, unlucky in the end actually, to only end up 10th place. Danny Harrison 11th, there's Sammy Saralainen, he got elbowed out, didn't he, at Lodge earlier on by Katie Milner, and then lost further ground down to 12th with Nick Halstead, Lewis Ryder and Josh Malin rounding out your top 15 finishers. Fastest lap, as I said, set by Scott McKenna in second position, which is worth a point, an extra point for the overall fastest lap in each round. These are the drivers outside the top 15. Will Durdle, Charlie Budd, Dale Albert, Matt Consus and Phil McGarty round out the top 20. You can see the list of retirements listed as lapped down at the bottom of the screen, but that's because they stopped running. Everyone from Gadji, Bertie down was a non-finisher in that race. David Elsley did recover, I believe. No, he never did get back round at the end of the final lap. So Elsley was, unfortunately, a rather spectacular final retirement of the race. Let's remind ourselves of some of the action that we've just witnessed in the previous 15 minutes. It was a good start made by Nicosia from the front row. Adam Smalley from pole went nowhere and briefly found himself down in fourth position into the first corner. Strong start from Katie Milner. She was into the top 5 early on and she was there or thereabouts for the rest of the race, as there was a little bit of elbowing on the run down the lakes, down the avenue and into Denton's. 2 cars spear off left and heavily into the barriers. Abby Pulling was the yellow car and the other one, I think, was James Townsend. Through Cascades, there was the usual side-by-side action. Gordy Much there, the 48 car, a lot further down the order on the first lap than he would end up by the end of the race, which started off in fairly calm and civilised fashion. Very close, a few bits of side-by-side action, but as the race went on and the intensity level increased and increased, so the action did as well. Adam Smalley made a nice move up the inside of Conor Grady down at the Hislop chicane before Smalley was assaulted by Scott McKenna, and unfortunately Jerry Nicosia got the bigger piece of that. He rotated, lost the lead. Smalley, having nearly lost second, ended up gaining first place out of it all, a first place he would never relinquish. Conor Grady was then dicing away with a rapid David Elsley, whose race would end in spectacular fashion not too much later with this moment through Island Bend. He almost had it saved, got on the grass and slammed into the Rector barriers. Not too much damage done, but a spectacular way to end his day's racing. Lots of action across all 3 of the Protyre Motorsport Ginetta GT5 Challenge races, but it was Adam Smalley that took 2 race victories from 3. Gordy Much a winner yesterday as well. What a set of races.